All right, this week, UFC 285, all the talks about Jon Jones, of course, because he's coming back and everyone's missed him inside the octagon. And he's a legend of the sport and he's a bad man and he's an intriguing character. And when I say he's a bad man, I mean he's a bad man inside the octagon. Not talking about his shenanigans. No, I'm talking about he is a bad man inside that octagon. But you know who else is a bad man? Do you know who else is an absolute machine, a knockout artist, and a man that you do not want to trifle with? Okay, that's his opponent, Ciryl Gane. I mean, let me tell you, this man is absolutely gigantic. When you saw him and Francis Ngannou square up against one another in the ring, Ciryl was a bigger man. Okay, he looked absolutely gigantic, and he literally does, to quote the great Muhammad Ali, float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. He is so light-footed. He dances around the octagon. He's got insane cardio, instant urban cat-like reflexes. Okay, doesn't seem to get tired, but he needs to work on the takedown defense. Now, before coming over to the UFC, Ciryl Gane was a tremendously talented kickboxer and had a great career, went 13-0. But what we're going to do right now, we're going to go through some stats, and then I'm going to give you some thoughts on the fight this weekend and what Ciryl needs to do to be successful. Okay, so coming into this one, Ciryl Gane is 10-1 in mixed martial arts. As we know, he was the former UFC interim heavyweight champion. He stands at 6'5" and has an 81-inch reach. So that's a 3.5-inch deficit. And against Jon Jones, because of course it's a wingspan reach, that'll give him about an actual 1.5-inch reach deficit on each arm. So not too much. And Jones is used to fighting people with long arms, let me tell you. Now, when it comes to his UFC rankings and his title, Ciryl Gane currently, obviously, is the #1 contender. He knocked out Tai Tuivasa in France, September last year in Paris. I called the fight a sensational performance. Yes, granted, Tai Tuivasa caught him sitting down and Tai thought he'd won the fight for a split second, but Ciryl jumped back up and continued to put the beat down on him, used those front kicks to the stomach, beautiful footwork, just a great shot selection, and the right hand that he dropped him with to finish the night was just timed perfectly. And the footwork to get himself into position really was a thing of beauty if you understand mixed martial arts. The way he pivoted off the fence, turned it round 180, right hand, sat him down, and then ground and pound to finish. Now, of course, as I said before, he became the interim heavyweight champion when he knocked out Derrick Lewis at UFC 265. And listen, we know Derrick Lewis. He's got the most knockouts in the history of the UFC. But against Ciryl Gane, and I love Derrick Lewis, so I get no satisfaction from saying this. I love Derrick Lewis, but he couldn't really do much against Gane. Gane was in and out, using that jab, that fast jab, that reach that he's got, the front kicks down the line. Derrick Lewis couldn't get near to him. Those lumbering, swinging, heavy, knockout potential shots, they weren't enough with somebody that is as sophisticated as Ciryl Gane. And that's when he became the interim heavyweight champion, as I said. Now, when it comes to reach, I told you, 81-inch reach. And it is the longest officially reach of any of Jon Jones' opponents. So how will that affect Jon Jones? He won't have the same advantage as he normally does have. Previously, that was Stephan Bonner, a man that doesn't have the career that Ciryl Gane had. And sadly, as we know, rest in peace, Stephan Bonner. He passed away earlier this year. Just such a true tragedy. But he had an 80-inch reach, so that was the longest reach that Jones had ever faced before. As I mentioned, Jones is 84.5, so, I mean, that is just ridiculous. Striking, well, listen, Ciryl Gane, he already landed over 700 significant strikes in the UFC, as young as it is, you know, and that is more than Cain Velasquez and Alistair Overeem. Alistair Overeem was a true legend. He was a K1 Dynamite Grand Prix champion, one of the best kickboxers the heavyweight division's seen. Ciryl Gane's been here about 2 minutes. He's already landed more shots than Alistair Overeem. That tells you how good, how accurate, how quick, how precise, how deadly this man is. And when he's throwing shots, he lands 60% of them are power shots. He's in the top 5 most accurate strikers in UFC history and within 2% of being number 2. Overeem is number 1 with an absolutely insane 75% of his shots. The power shots, just to clarify one more time. And when it comes to striking differential, okay, only Cain Velasquez has a better striking differential. What does that mean? Well, it means you land more shots than when your opponent lands. Ciryl Gane lands almost 3 times as shots as what he takes. It's a very, very impressive stat. Remember, that's what we want to do. It's the art of hitting without getting hit. Everybody loves a brawl. Everybody loves to see 2 guys stand there and swing and throw down and the crowd goes crazy and the fighters lose brain cells. but you got to be smart. And Ciryl Gane is. And he has a habit of hitting and not getting hit. He lands 3 times as many times as what he takes. So that's very, very impressive. He shows his fighting acumen, his fight IQ, whatever you want to call it. Now, when it comes to the striking department, Ciryl Gane started his career as a Thai boxer. And let me tell you, he was quite the phenom or the prodigy. He was bloody good. Okay, he went 13-0, undefeated, 9 KOs in Thai boxing, and he won a version of the world title. Granted, in Thai boxing, there's about 1 million world titles, but he won one of them. And along the way, he beat Yasin Bohannon, who was a top champion who had over 169 fights, okay? And I think he won about 140 of them. So that was a top-tier competition win. That was world-class, truly was. And Gane, as I said before, because of the striking differential and because of the footwork and because of how light he is truly like a ballet dancer in there. You know, he's like a big black Jean-Claude Van Damme, isn't it? He's very, very hard to hit. He makes his opponents miss 63% of the time. I mean, that's very impressive. It's number 3 in division history. No other UFC heavyweight champion comes close to that stat in particular. Now, one thing that we do know is that Ciryl Gane was taken down many, mmany times by Francis Ngannou, and that's what cost him the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. Ciryl Gane also said recently this week that he doesn't really train in between fights, and because he's the face of French MMA, that he's been too busy with media opportunities, and he hasn't really trained much, and he only really trains when he's got a fight coming up. And I don't know if he's just saying that to have a laugh, because he has got a good sense of humor. He's a very funny man. He's a very nice guy. When you talk to him, he's very warm, you know, and I don't know if he's just having a laugh there when he said that in the media. I think he must be, because you got to train for somebody like Jon Jones, and he's had a shot and become the undisputed champ. When he lost, he was an interim champ. This is his second time. If he loses this one, does he get another one? And you don't get every day to go up against a true legend like Jon Jones. He could be the first man to legitimately beat him. So he's got to train. So I think he's maybe just having a laugh at the reporters, you know, but whatever he's doing in the training, he's got to be sure that he works that takedown defense. Because if he's taken down and he's on his back, it doesn't matter how light on his feet he is, because that's out the window. It doesn't matter how floaty like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. None of that matters. It's all out the goddamn window. If he gets taken down, I think the fight is over. So that is absolutely crucial. Has he been doing that? Has he been working on the takedown defense? Yes, of course he has, but still, I'm excited. So, if you weren't excited about the challenge that Jon Jones has, about the challenge that Ciryl Gane has, well, then you should be now, because both of these men are top of the food chain, and this fight's going to be ridiculous. Can't wait.